Just getting my tea. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy for you to join me, and I'm so excited. Hi, how are you?
I am well, thanks. How are you? Don't you look lovely?
Well, you know, we're so lucky. It's been so beautiful in London for like the last, I don't know, 10 days that we've been, or 2 weeks, 3 weeks that we've been on lockdown. I don't even know what day of the week it is anymore. How are you?
It's been pouring in Los Angeles the whole time, for the most part.
But you know, I feel like that's what LA needed, and this is what London needed.
It's true. No, it's totally true, because it's like it keeps everybody indoors, so it's probably better here. Otherwise, everyone's out for like a walk and on the trails, and they've closed our trails and our beaches down because people can't stay inside.
Hard.
It's so good to see you.
So good to see you too. I mean, obviously I'm a big supporter of yours, and I love looking at your Instagram, and I love the honesty with which you like post your routines, and you
maybe too much honesty.
No,
people are looking at this camera going, I don't know who that woman is on the bottom of the screen. I've never seen
that. They can see your hair. They can see your full hair.
They can see my hair.
And you're wearing like clothes as opposed to
clothes as opposed to my robe. I mean, they don't know who I am. They're like, I don't know who that person is.
Well, I love seeing your journey, and I think it's really nice to be able to share that with people, and also like, because it gives them relatability too, anybody who's listening. So, you know, sometimes I always think that they see like this beautiful, flawless skin on Instagram and pictures, and they don't realize what goes into, one, looking like that, and two, maybe it's even just like photoshopping or, you know, different sorts of filters. But I think it's nice to be able to show, like, I mean, I was saying earlier today, I love that you showed what your melasma looked like 5 years ago, and in the same tent, you know, 5 years later, I don't know how many treatments later, but with good skincare, what you've done to improve it. And I think that's like such a nice thing to do. And I suffer from melasma. I hate it, and I always feel like it makes me feel dirty. Like I look like I'm dirty.
That's what it feels like. It feels dirty.
Yeah, which is really not a nice way. So anybody who has blemished skin, so whether it's from pigment or at least with acne, you can say, you know, like you have acne. With melasma, I sometimes feel like it just looks like you're dirty. like, and so it's,
and I think
different.
When it's melasma too, I think the way that the way that the light picks up blemishes, it picks it up as uneven. Right? Yeah. So you kind of know you're dealing with the surface being uneven. This is like you can't even really see what's going on because the light doesn't interact with it in that way. It interacts with the way it's looking gray or looking brown, and then you look like you've got a mustache, which is a good look. I love a mustache. But,
yeah, me too.
Or in mine is a beard. It's a full beard, which is ugly on a lady.
It's not attractive, I would agree. I mean, there's a lot of nice things to cover up too, but I mean, it's frustrating to wake up, especially like you're such a natural. You have you know, no makeup if you have any on. Like it's very natural and beautiful.
I tried to go as clean for you as possible so you could see what I look like. Also, not in my bathroom, which has the worst lighting. And
my bathroom has the worst lighting too. I hate doing videos in there. I'm always like, oh my God, you can see every pigment, every.
In some ways it's good, right? For me it's really good because it keeps me honest about my pigment and actually knowing where I need to address my pigment. Because I don't do lasers, which I know you do, which I want to talk to you about, because I was very jealous that you got to let yourself into your office and do a treatment on yourself before lockdown. I mean, that was...
I know. That was
genius.
Perfect timing. It was perfect
timing.
That
was genius. If I lived in London, I would have definitely called you up and said, look, I
need it. Come now. I've always wanted to try it, and I also have melasma, so I get afflicted mainly in like my forehead, and then I actually just get huge patches here with specific areas. I also have only SPF on, like I have a little bit, like you can still see because
you can see mine too.
And actually, some of this is still from the laser, so like this is like a square patch from the laser and around my chin, but I put a little bit of eye makeup on to draw the focus to my eyes as opposed to...
I put a little mascara on as well for you, and a little lip balm. I felt the lips need a little something.
Yeah, me too, lips and eyes. But so basically what I try to do is that, truthfully, melasma is the best thing for melasma is really skincare. The problem is that skincare takes a really long time for it to work, and so I think people get frustrated and then they become non-compliant and they don't see the results, and so it's just a self-perpetuating sort of situation. And also, I also like to remind people of melasma, it's not just the sun. I mean, it's sitting by a fireplace, it's going into a sauna. Anything that has heat, it's a computer screen. You really have to wear sunscreen all the time, and as much as I love steam, I never ever do steam. I mean, even if I have a facial, I say,
oh, I'm so excited we can talk about this now. This is very exciting to me, because I feel like, first of all, having a melasma sister means so much to me.
I know.
Because it's hard when people don't know, and a lot of people are giving advice, and they've never had melasma, so they don't know.
No.
And they have no concept of what it feels like to have it, because they think what they see is, if you have melasma, ironically, you tend to have pretty wrinkle-free skin because you're using such good skincare. Yes. And you've probably done a lot of intervention to try and deal with it, which lasers do help with fine lines. They just do.
Of course they do. Every little bit is cumulative. It all works. It's like working out. The more, you work out your muscles, the more muscles you're going to get. I mean, like it's obviously it's like everything together. But
you froze.
Oh, can you hear me? Can you see me now?
No, go ahead. Sorry, say what you were saying again.
No, I'm saying yeah, so it's just like exercise. The more you do, the better the effects long term. So of course, every time I'm doing something for pigmentation, I'm also helping the health of my skin. So the most important thing is the skin health. You only have one skin, and as it ages, I had a very misspent youth, like in the sunshine. I loved the sun, and I was that girl who had like aluminum foil behind her and lemon and olive oil, and I'm Middle Eastern, so I tan really quickly. And I remember my grandmother would come and throw a towel on me. Oh my God, what are you doing? Don't you want nice, clear skin? And I was like, oh, I just want to be tan. Like that's
all you wanted to be was tan in that.
And then I got tan in just certain areas, and then I hated tan, and so now I stay as much away as
What is your sort of ethnic background? Because I feel like that also contributes to mine as well.
Of course. So I'm Iranian. What's yours?
I am Spanish and Cuban on one side, but then I've also got a mom who was English, Irish, Scottish. Excuse me. And that ginger type of thing is, I think, a doozy to add into that mix.
Yeah, you have to also be very careful, obviously, of like any sort of, you're more likely if you did spend a lot of time in the sun for different skin cancers and things like that. So obviously very important, the whole mole check aspect of it as well. But skincare is like super important. So you have like you have a combination of like the Irish white that's very beautiful, but very sensitive to every
but not a great mix with the Latin blood.
Yes, and then you have the Latin blood, which ages really well. It ages better than the lighter skin. So that's, but then also gives you more risk. So melasma generally is more common in people of ethnicity and darker skin types. So, there's different skin types, and it goes to 1 to 6, and generally...
And I'm Fitzpatrick 4.
Yes, you are. Even though you're blonde and white, you don't realize that.
And so people think I'm a Fitzpatrick 3, and I think if you titrate the laser to a Fitzpatrick 3 skin...
You will
I think that's
pigment.
what happened to me.
I think that's what happened to me.
Interesting.
So I didn't have it really. It got worse with my kids, but actually what happened was, and I should never have had this done. So when I first moved to London, I couldn't work, and I was, I had time to I loved all these things too. And I always hated the skin underneath my eyes because I have lots of wrinkles there. And so I went to a very well-respected dermatologist in the UK, and he recommended that I do a Fraxel. And I was very young. I was like 30. I should never have done it. I did do a Fraxel. I did the lightest Fraxel. I was not pre-medicated. I did not have any post-laser treatment protocol or anything like that. I was very white at the time, like even lighter. I'm a little pink because I had this laser just 2 weeks ago, so I'm actually more like my neck color. But I was a yellow. I have a nice yellow glow, and it was winter time, and so I did it, and my face ballooned up, which I thought was worse for my eyes, because obviously if you have a lot of swelling and you're trying to get rid of wrinkles, I think you make them worse. And I had a very significant reaction to a very light Fraxel treatment, and after that, the next summer when I went out into the sun, I got 2 little patches. and they exacerbated a little bit. Obviously, pregnancy hormones they affect things, but it didn't really bother me so much. And then I think it was that combination. I'm not sure I would have had it. No one in my family has had it. I mean, it's possible I could have gotten it before anyway, but I feel like that was the trigger for me. And what about you? What laser did you have done?
I had a Fraxel.
You did.
I mean, I've had a few different ones, and someone just asked if Latin skin is more sensitive because of our melanin, and yes, it is definitely more sensitive. And Latin people should be very cautious of it, because especially lighter Latin people, because when they titrate the laser, they're not necessarily doing it for our skin type. They're doing it with the color that they see in that moment, and they're not necessarily doing the due diligence of figuring out what our full ethnic background is. So I have melasma on my arms from doing laser on my arms. I have it on my chest.
Wow. Frustrating.
And what's funny is I've never lasered my neck, and I have none on my neck.
I always say also for the darker skin type. So for me, like even with the laser that I did the the lightest setting of CO2 laser, and I was pre-medicated for 2 weeks beforehand with a lightening cream just to prep my skin. Yeah. And then I'm still on that cream now 2 weeks after, and I will continue to be using that in addition to my own skincare products to help decrease the amount of... And is that a prescription
cream?
I'm using a prescription combination of a tretinoin, a corticosteroid, like light steroid, as well as hydroquinone 4%. So I'm using a triple defense, basically, which is sort of known as the gold standard. It's something that I give people anyway if they're looking to lighten any sort of pigmentation on their skin.
And we can't use that in the U.S. We can't use the triplicate cream here.
Oh, you don't have Triluma? I thought you had Triluma there.
We're not. I think you can get it as Triluma, but they used to compound a triplicate cream here.
Oh, okay.
And that's now illegal. So people still do it, but you're not meant to be using it. And
you can get them separately though. So tretinoin,
you can get them separately, exactly, and layer them on.
Yes, but you have to then be careful, because what I like about having them together is that sometimes you end up using more cream if you're using a retinol and a hydroquinone and like a light steroid. So you could really inflame your skin very quickly. So you just have to always titrate. I always say, look, you have to listen to your skin. If your skin gets red, angry, irritated, you're not doing it any good. You want it to be gradual. Yeah,
that's even worse, actually. Getting the skin angry is worse. I mean,
yes.
So I haven't used hydroquinone in probably 6 or 7 years.
Wow. So what has been your regimen? What have you been doing over the last 6 months? 6 years. 5 years.
So when that cuckoo thing happened with the mask that you saw in the picture that I posted over the weekend, I had a doctor reach out to me, and she wanted to do a peel on me that was a version of like a triplicate peel. And it was a very strong peel that came off in like sheets.
Okay.
And what happened with that, unfortunately, is that it worked right away. It was amazing right away. And then just like a laser, it kind of came back with a vengeance. When that came back, it came back not exactly in the same pattern. It came back more like a stripe. So it came back here, like war paint, here, here, with a division of light kind of in between, and then it created, unfortunately, hypopigmentation on top of it. So now not only do I have hyperpigmentation, I have hypopigmentation. So, so what happened after that? So that was probably fall of 2015. This is before I started Knockout, before I did any of that stuff. And I'm also, unfortunately, aging and acneic, which is a lovely combination too. And so that, and a lot of what I think can happen to skin.
Oh, you froze. I can't hear you.
Just got a call. I apologize. Sorry, I just got a call, so I apologize that.
It's okay. Now I can hear you. You froze for 1 second, probably.
Perfect. Sorry. So when, what I often feel about melasma is drying the skin out is a big problem with melasma, because that the body thinks that that's a version of an injury, and then it stimulates the push of the melanin to try to protect it, even if it's just drying it out. So when you're breaking out, I was, definitely prior treating my blemishes with things like Proactive, which I also think, if you have melasma, is not great for you. I don't think your skin can take all that drying out. So the process of kind of healing the melasma also went hand in hand with kind of healing the blemishes as well, and re-regulating my sebum and really balancing my skin out. So I started looking at like all the things that I could do to help with the blemishes, but also help with the pigment. And the thing that I landed on were the cool peels from Environ, because they weren't spicy, so they weren't creating that.
They're not as aggressive. Definitely.
Yes, exactly. And they don't really peel. I mean, you peel, but it's not
more flaky.
It's not sloughing off. It's more like a micro exfoliation.
Yeah.
But they do really control blemishes as well. So that was great. That was a good solution for me. And but I didn't even start them until the fall of 2017. So this process has been sort of an ongoing process of like, what do we keep? What do we get rid of? What do we move forward with? So once I started doing those peels, I stayed with those peels, and I do them pretty regularly, and I can do them on my own. But what I think is the most effective is if you do them and then you immediately feed the skin with, so like with fasting, right? When I think of the peel as almost like the fast, and then the refeed is what you give it next, and the nutrients that you feed it when your body's ready to receive it. And at that point, I really realized I had to give my body a lot of nourishment and a lot of vitamins. And so that began my process of looking at like the A's, the C's, the E's, the B's, trying to figure out exactly what the body needed and what I was deficient in. And so I realized I was very deficient in vitamin B topically and vitamin A. So there's a lot of retinol in my routine, but there's also vitamin A in my routine. So I have just a regular nice bit of vitamin A every day, and then I treat, those spots with the retinol.
And retinol, by the way, for those of you who don't know, is really an excellent way to increase cell turnover. So it's like one of those powerhouse ingredients that literally I think everybody should be on. So it increases collagen production. It makes your skin more smooth and brighter because you're sloughing off old skin and creating new, more vibrant skin. It also helps with acne, of course. And it's just a powerhouse ingredient. We're also seeing that it helps fight a little bit now the UV radiation damage that can be done. So even though it can make your skin a little bit more sensitive to sun, at the same time it is slightly protective to the skin, and you will always benefit. And one thing I wanted to debunk is that sometimes when you start a retinol, it's normal to have a little bit of dryness and flaky, and it's not because it's thinning your skin. It is not thinning your skin. It's because it's actually promoting new collagen production and sloughing off the old skin. And so what you're seeing is that old skin coming away, not that you're thinning your skin. And I get that a lot. So please don't think you're thinning your skin. On contrary, you're actually increasing the density and the thickness of the skin. So sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to...
No, and I think sometimes when people are using retinol incorrectly, they can thin their skin if they're using it incorrectly, and they're not being mindful of the skin does need a chance to repair itself.
Yes, and if you're raw and you're red and you're uncomfortable, you have to listen to your skin. If it hurts, it's just like exercise. If something's hurting you, you should not be doing it. So,
exactly, I think it's the build-up process.
Yes,
it is. Of like, the stronger your skin, the more retinol it can take, and the more, and I think people mistakenly think, okay, I need to get it to this like raw moment, and then that's going to help it. And it's like, actually, the contrary is true, is the more we kind of keep it slowly with a slight slough off and slowly build it up, that's going to strengthen the skin. And I think, for me, that's been the one thing that I think, I'm 43, I have a lot of movement in my face, maybe too much for some.
No, not at all.
And it's, and this is my face, and it's, but I think at rest, I don't have lines, but absolutely when I'm, I have a lot of movement.
Of course. I mean, like when you actually have dynamic movement a lot, of course you're going to have lines and wrinkles. It's normal. And you look amazing for not even your age, just in general. I hate when people say, for your age, you look great. I remember I had a patient who came and she's like, oh, when I'm your age, I hope I look like that. And I was like, oh, thanks. I don't think of myself quite that old yet, but okay, thank you. I saw a few questions on how to use retinol. So anytime you want to start retinol in a skincare regimen, I would always say you start off a small amount, and I would start maybe 2 or 3 times a week at the very most. Don't be surprised if nothing happens in the first week. Sometimes it happens in the second week. So just remember that it takes time for your skin to acclimate, and if you think, oh my God, that first week nothing happened to my skin, I can just use it every night, you will become very dry, red, flaky, irritated. You'll hate the product, and you'll never use it again. So again, I would titrate it. So like a very small amount. You cleanse your face at nighttime, use a small amount on your skin. Non-prescription strength is the one that I would always go for first, and then slowly use it so that you add on a day every week. So if you're on twice a week, the third week you add on one more time, and then you continue that until you basically in 4 to 6 weeks you're using it more days than not, so between 5 and 7 times a week. And if you're using a prescription strength, I would always put the most medicated on first. So if you do happen to have a dermatologist or another doctor who has prescribed this for you, you would use that first, and then you can start on with the rest of your skincare. And in terms of brands, there's a lot of great brands out there. Of course, I love MZ Skin. I created a 2% encapsulated retinol to decrease the side effects, and I put it in an oil to make it hydrating, but not too, because the one thing
that's what I was going to get at when we were talking about the dryness of the the skin and blemishes. And I think that there's a misconception that oil is going to create more of a problem, and in fact oil pulls oil, and oil re-regulates oil, and that mixed with that retinol is a really good product, and it's a really good vehicle for people whether they have aging skin or acneic skin. So it's a very that product in particular, I think, is a great product for people that want to just use retinol in general for whatever their need is, whether it be blemish prone, whether it be pigment, whether it be fine lines. That vehicle, because it's oil encapsulated, it's delivering it in a system that your skin is actually happy to receive. Yes. Without having some of the down, like the more irritating, side effects to it, basically. Exactly. And then I think, the other ingredient, obviously, that we haven't so talked about is the C. Yeah. And you have, your C is unreal. Oh, anybody that has not tried your C has not really been to the rodeo. I mean, your C is so good. Thank you. It's very strong, your C. It's a very high percentage, so maybe you'll share that with us so everyone can learn about that. So I love vitamin C because vitamin C is another powerhouse ingredient that I really do think everybody should be on, and it helps to decrease pigmentation, increase collagen production, and it's just a generalized antioxidant to fight against the free radicals that are created mainly from UV damage. And in the skin, it's a brightening and collagen boosting ingredient. It's great to use in the morning. I use it twice a day. It's great to use it in the morning and at night because it helps, one, prevent new pigmentation and damage from happening, and 2, it helps to reverse and decrease the amount of pigmentation in the evening. So what I always say to people is, during the day you want to protect your skin and give you all the nutrients to help fight off any bad things, and then at nighttime when you're sleeping and you're detoxifying, you're giving your skin all the great stuff to help build new collagen, create clearer, more even toned skin. So I think that's actually really quite nice. I wanted to say one more thing about retinol just before we move on. Yeah, of course. I saw a question. So Ketrol is a tretinoin that you can buy in the UK. In the USA, you have things like Retin A. So it's a tretinoin. It's a prescription strength tretinoin, and you can get it in the same percentages, and it's the same active ingredient. So they don't sell Ketrol in the US, but they have Retin A, so you can get that there. Someone asked a question also about retinol, that it made their skin very, very dry. And so my feeling on that is that probably it was the wrong concentration of vitamin A for your skin, and you may just need to go to a baby dose of it. And there's so many,
that.
A is so many different, falls into so many different categories, right? So there's vitamin A, there is adapalene, which we haven't talked about at all, and then there's retinol. And a lot of people do very well, particularly young people, with adapalene, because adapalene is like a bioavailable source of vitamin A. So if you have trouble with different versions of retinols, or even a little bit of A is not strong enough for you, you could use a little bit of adapalene. Adapalene is like the difference between me feeding you, like the difference between me giving you a banana and I'm putting it on your plate versus me peeling the banana for you, chopping it up and giving you a fork.
Yeah.
I'm doing
it's more readily available.
Ready for you. It's readily available. So I think that there's different types of skin. Sometimes your skin is working too hard to adjust to bringing the vitamin A and assimilating it into your body, and you build up the vitamin A. So if you will eventually be able to get to that retinol, so put it aside and do a little bit something lighter to build up to that. So I wouldn't go after it. If it's upsetting your skin, I wouldn't go after it, but you can, if you're feeling like it feels a little strong and it feels a little much and that's all you have, you could take a very light face cream and just do a very thin layer first as almost like a slight barrier, and then, or do a half and half together on the face to just have a little bit less of it. That could be a way to do it as well.
Absolutely. I agree with you completely. If you feel that you have side effects, so I usually say to start off with like a pea-size amount, and then, twice a week and slowly increase it. It is normal to have a little bit of flakiness, so I wouldn't, if you have a little bit of flakiness, I wouldn't be worried. But at nighttime, if you find that you are, and you still don't let go, still use it twice a week, but don't let go. Don't stop, because then it'll take you another couple of weeks to acclimate again.
Exactly, because you have to build it back up again.
Yes. But I would mix it with a little bit of cream. Sorry. I would mix it with a little bit of cream, and that's actually why I think sometimes an oil is really nice. So I created the oil version, which you can get online, and it ships anywhere. You can use that anytime, and it's great for. So I'm more of a mature, drier skin type. And so for me, I wanted to make sure that I felt like I was hydrated afterwards.
Someone asked, before they asked about my white shirt, it stuck the other one up and it says, are you layering vitamin C on top of your retinol at night? So my answer is yes, I am. And I am always using vitamin C. I'm always using my vitamins it doesn't always mean that I'm using the same product, but I'm always using the same vitamins. So it's like the idea of that if you're eating Greek food, but you're still getting your protein, it's no different than if you're eating Chinese food for protein. The taste is different, the vehicle is different, but your body is getting protein. It's just different flavoring, right? So I still use, I use different brands and I use different things, but I'm always making sure that I'm getting my vitamins every night, and I'm always or every day. And particularly during the day, it's essential that we use antioxidants. And we talked a little bit about just sort of UV radiation and free radicals. And one of the things that we didn't really touch on, just one second, I have to let the dog out, excuse me.
So I also wanted to say while we wait is that I also do use a retinol and a vitamin C at the same time, but often I take a shower at night and I put the vitamin C on, and then I do a second 5-minute routine later, because I do part of my routine first and then part of it second. So I think you can always use your vitamins in whichever way you want. There's never going to be like a total right or wrong answer. I do think you have to let whatever sits on your face dry before you put on something else, because if you're mixing stuff like that, then you might be inactivating what's in one cream with another. And so I think it's just better to sort of make sure your skin is, one, not sweating if you've taken, for me, I take my showers at night. So if you're really hot out of the shower and you're putting on all these lovely things and you're still perspiring, well, then first of all, your shower is too hot and it can trigger asthma. But two, you're not going to get all those products going into your skin. So, but I go on. I was just.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. No, what I was saying is just, I think we talked a little bit about the idea of UV radiation and explaining why it's important to use the vitamins. And I think what we, so I think melasma is such a funny, and pigment in general is such a funny thing. And people will say, like, you know, people will give a lot of advice about a variety of things. And I live in Los Angeles, where there is sun most days, and except for oddly during the past few weeks, but for the most part there's sun most days. And my melasma has actually gotten considerably better since I've lived here over the year and a half. And I think there's some confusion about what contributes to the pigment, and I think there's confusion about what causes. Does it matter which is applied first? It does matter which is applied first. And we can talk about that in a minute. We touched on that a little bit, but we can go back to that. But what's very important when we do apply our A's, our C's, our E's, anything that is an antioxidant, what that's doing is UV rays create UV radiation, and UV radiation creates free radicals, and free radicals are a molecule that's missing an electron. So what happens is when that comes in contact with our skin, it is looking for that missing electron, and it's scavenging our face, looking for that to be, essentially the electron to take up, the molecule to take it up, but it's altering our skin code, right? And that's what can cause cancer and all these other things. However, that also stimulates melasma on top of it all. But when we use an antioxidant, the antioxidant donates the missing electron to the molecule, and it essentially neutralizes it. So what we're talking about, and Maryam and I, we're talking about it on like a very grand scale, so just to explain to you why it's so important that you're wearing it day and night, they're doing different things during different parts of the day. So during the day, they're neutralizing that, that scavenger, so to speak, and it's protecting your skin. And then at night, it's creating that microexfoliation. Same thing with the C, where it's brightening at night, and during the day, it's protecting. So it's imperative that we do it both times of the day. And depending upon what our overall goal is for our skin can depend on which ingredient we use first. However, the rule of thumb that I like to use is like, go with the alphabet. A before, A, then C, and then E. C and E like to live together. They're happy together. They're good mates. A and C don't love each other. They have B in between them. B also tends to be quite thin, so you also want to go thinnest to thickest. For the most part, the vehicle that you're going to find B in is going to be thinner than any of the other vitamins, so that will have to go first by virtue of the fact that it's thinner, and the molecule can't penetrate beyond that other molecule. So when we talk about like the layer and the order, it's thinnest to thickest, and then A tells the skin what to do. It's the great educator of the skin. It tells the skin how to behave. So you kind of want the skin to know what to do before it starts to protect itself or starts to create new collagen or do anything else or soften it up. So you tend to want to do whatever the lightest is and then do your A's first. And especially if they're prescription. If they're prescription, that's the thing you want closest to your skin.
I would agree with that. The only thing that I would say is that I've made a retinol with the oil, and I've sort of done it to get rid of some of the steps in the process, and that will always come last because an oil will not allow anything else to penetrate. Yeah, so I always, the first thing is like the texture of the product. So whether,
thinnest to thickest for sure. Always. And I think in terms of your treatment oil, I personally also love to massage with it. I feel like it's such a nice massage oil, and it has, it's not overly thick. So
it's not meant to be heavy. It's meant to be light enough for somebody who even suffers from acne to not feel that they're putting something on their skin. So one of the reasons I wanted an oil, one was for my sort of skin, and second was for acne, because sometimes I think that people are always trying to over dry their skin essentially, and in doing that they're actually stimulating more sebum production as a consequence. It's like a vicious catch-22. So I want their skin to be hydrated, but I also want them to have the mechanism to decrease that oil production in the form of the vitamin A. So that's why I've done a light oil. It's not greasy, but it feels really lovely on, and so you don't feel dry and tight afterwards.
It's very lovely. You can even put makeup on over it.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel icky. Can you tell us all? There's 2 products I really want you to tell everybody about, because I feel like they're the unsung heroes of the MZ Skin line. First of all, before we even continue on anything to talk about the products, we need to talk about the mask for 1 second, the LED mask.
So tell me.
It is unbelievable, and I don't own it anymore. My daughter owns it. It's not allowed in my room.
How old is your daughter?
She is 12. And
oh, I love it. What color?
She had quite a big blemish that showed up
out of
1
nowhere.
minute, and I said, put the mask on. She now knows which color to do when and what. I mean, she's so good.
Amazing.
And she came on live and she took a picture of herself and she showed the mask to to our viewers, and she showed her own personal, like, this was a few hours ago. She had the timestamp on her phone.
Oh my God.
And we sold out of that mask so fast.
Oh, that's great. That makes me so happy.
Truly amazing.
So I love LED so much. LED is light emitting diodes, and there are different frequency of wavelengths that can be used to rejuvenate the skin. They can help with skin healing. So if you have a peel or a laser or anything like that, or surgery even, it helps with the healing process. And then it's really great for acne and rosacea. Having said that, in acne and rosacea, if you're actually using it to treat a condition like prolonged redness or with acne, spots, you can have like really amazing results immediately. But for long term, somebody who has quite a lot of, active or moderate acne, it does take a while, because the way that it works is it decreases the amount of bacteria that lives on the skin. And so you kind of do need to use it like, 10-15 minutes, between 3 and 5 times a week. But it's a lovely at-home treatment because, one,
it's an
you can do it anytime.
It's the moment for you to be, like, when you can't get somewhere, it's an amazing thing to be able to do for yourself at home, is to wear that mask and to be able to treat your skin for everything from pigment using the green light, which is what I do, red helping with your inflammation, you've got your blue helping with the bacteria, and then you've got the white, which is actually helping with the healing. And so that's also a great thing when you're breaking out, is to move between the colors of the light and the different things.
You don't need to stay loyal to any one color. All of those, for all skin types, all of those colors really can help quite a lot. And so I do like the idea of like going between, maybe doing 5 or 10 minutes of one and then 5 or 10 minutes of another. And I just think it's really nice because, one, it makes you more concentrated on your skin, and sometimes just having that like 15 minutes to yourself, doing something actively nice for yourself, actually decreases your stress hormones. I mean, it does a lot of good on the other side of things, because stress is a big inflammator of skin in general. And so if you have 15, I swear, just 15 minutes to yourself to relax, it does your body a lot of good. So for open pores or anything, I honestly think all of the light colors work really well. I always use it by washing my face, and then I tend to use either, like, I might do a mask beforehand, and then I leave the solution of the mask on my face. I love the Meso mask that we have, so I put that, and then I put the LED on top.
I do the Meso, and then I do the green light for pigment.
Oh, that's so fun, yes.
I feel like the green, obviously, is the most important for pigment.
Yes.
And the Meso's great for melasma. I feel like that mask is so good for pigment.
Well, it has so many great ingredients. I mean, I think it's always really important. Look, not all one size fits all, but I've tried to create something that like really does the skin, like it's more for skin health and skin benefits. So like whether it's melasma or whether it's rosacea or whether it's other sorts of, all of these are inflammatory sorts of conditions. And so it's meant to decrease inflammation in the skin so that, the goal for everybody really is to have clear skin. So that's why no makeup is so important, and that's why foundation, that's why it's so, sought after and everything like that. It's really to have like a nice even palette, and if you want to do something else on top, that's great in the form of makeup, but to feel comfortable, so when you wake up in the morning, you're it doesn't want to make you sad, like it gives you joy to see, nice clear skin. Oh, you froze again. Hello? Are you there? Uh-oh. Maybe she'll come back. Maybe she's getting a call. If not, I will restart. But let's give it a sec. No? Oh, she hung up. So she's going to come back on. I'm sure she will. So while we're waiting, what's the most effective skin tightening, non-invasive lasers, peels for your radio frequency? Honestly, it totally depends on your skin type, your age, and what your concerns are. I think, non-invasively radio frequency, there are some really nice radio frequencies that work, but of course you have to do that multiple times. It's not something that you can just do immediately and have a result, so it's a long-term sort of commitment. And there we are. We are starting again. Then she'll be, hopefully this is working. And I also love microneedling. Hi, I'm so happy that you're back.
I'm so sorry about that. I'm dealing with the shipping of Knockout Beauty, and so I'm receiving large shelves at the moment. So I apologize for that. So I didn't want
I think it's so amazing that you literally brought your company to your house. I mean, that's tough times, tough actions, and I think your customers must be so happy and so pleased that you're able to supply them all their goods, especially now that so many retailers, even online retailers, are not working. And that's amazing.
We are
and it's
still shipping. We ship all over the world. There was a moment where we weren't shipping because our partners weren't shipping. We would have shipped, but our partners were not shipping to China or Macau or Hong Kong. But those have opened back up, so now we are shipping everywhere.
Oh, amazing. I'm so happy to hear that.
We're shipping to our friends in Italy. We're shipping to our friends in England all the time, which is really great. We've had very little disruption, which is amazing.
Amazing. But you took action early on. I think it was really great of you to sort of say, we don't know when this is going to end, and you made a decision and you kind of had a plan. I think
very early.
I think that was a great decision.
We have, we have myriad of health concerns on our team. We have someone who's about to give birth, and we have women in their 60s, and we have women who have spouses who are not well, and we really wanted to make sure that we care about our community, but it's important that we take care of ourselves first.
Yeah,
and I felt like if everyone felt safe and everyone felt secure, we'd still be able to deliver everything that we had promised. And so we've always done consults virtually. This is not a new. Funny enough, we were already doing a lot of the things that now people are doing.
That's amazing. So I'm about to start doing virtual skin consultations too, just to one, because I miss seeing people. I won't lie, I miss the interactions, but also just because now I have some time that I can do these things. What other lovely skincare ingredients do you love?
Well, you know what, before we get to that, I really want to ask you, I have two other things. I want to ask you about the Rest and Revive, please, because I feel like the world needs to know about this. And I feel like Rest and Revive does not get enough, there's so many other things that you have that are great. And Rest and Revive
doesn't get attention.
Well, it's like you could do a whole thing on Rest and Revive.
I know.
You could literally... Rest and Revive is so special between the stem cells. So please tell everybody, because I think it's such a big.
So Rest and Revive is one of the, I believe very strongly in stem cells and placenta. And stem cells are mainly from plants. And I also have sheep placenta. So this is my only non-vegan product. Oh, actually I have two non-vegan products because another one has placenta as well.
But it's cruelty-free. It's cruelty-free, but it is not vegan. And that is common within the beauty space anyway, for everyone to know when, this is not like an MZ Skin thing where it's like we're making an exception. As long as it's cruelty-free, it's just not vegan. That's all.
Yeah.
So I think
absolutely. So no animals are harmed in procuring the placenta. But really, you have to remember the placenta and stem cells hold all the nutrients that we need. They're like the building blocks for skin and youth and for lots of different things. It's the same reason, sometimes when we have our placentas, for both of my children, I save part of my umbilical, cord for both of my kids. And it's basically using all those like highly nutritious parts and nutrients to create new skin. And so it's giving you these building blocks. And so I've used it in a night serum and I've used it in a night mask. And the reason I've used them is because it's deeply hydrating. I promise, I can't promise, but like most people who try it are like, they're hooked on it because you can see visible results and it's so smooth.
It is unbelievable. I will tell you that because I'm flawed, as we all are, but I sometimes go to bed without washing my face.
No,
it's not common. It's not common, but it does happen because I fall asleep because I'm so exhausted. And when I wake up the next morning, if I do not the Rest and Revive, but if I actually do that mask that you sort of touched on for a second, which is
I use the mask nightly. So for me, there's some in the wintertime I use both of them, so I layer them. So I use the Rest and Revive first, and then I use the mask afterwards. So again, the mask is really a nighttime, every night treatment. It's so hydrating. It's a little richer. So obviously serum is lighter and the mask is thicker, but it's not oily. I don't have any of like the silicones, like nothing that's yucky is in there at all. It's like really all beneficial. And someone asked about like,
but it will revive your skin in minutes. Like in minutes. So if you went to bed and you didn't mind what happened, it's like the best. Or I'm sorry, if you go to bed and like you have washed your face, but you maybe had a little hard night.
Yes.
And you wake up in the morning and you look a little rough and you just put that on. I mean, it can really just get you back in. And I think people forget that there are products that are literally able to deliver a result quickly because of what they're doing.
I have the mask here right now because this is the Replenish and Restore one. So
will you show them how it works? Will you open up the top?
Yeah, so it's an airless pump. So you press down and you get enough. For one pump is not enough for the whole face. I will use it on my neck because I just don't like to lose anything. Somebody asked if non-vegan stem cells work. Yes. So obviously, I also use plant stem cells too. So you can have a combination of the two, like I use, because the more 100%. You have, I mean, they work synergistically together. So this is one of the things that I can't live without. So obviously, I listen a lot to my patients, but also it's sort of also for me too. So
can I share, speaking of your patients and people, I have to tell my favorite MZ Skin story.
Tell me.
So for those of you that don't know, Dr. Maryam is a really accomplished eye surgeon. And her work is impeccable, first of all. So like if you're thinking about having your eyes done, she could be a really good, I might hop the pond for it. I mean, she's quite good. And her eye products, because of that, are very good. So we go out to an event and we bring our products, and this is very early on in carrying the MZ line. But we had people, we just love to show people how effective they are, and they work pretty much instantaneously or within a few minutes. So a friend of mine who's hosting us takes the Depuff and Define, and she gets it on one eye, but there's not enough to put it on two eyes. So she puts it on, and she goes, oh, well, it's not, I said, you're going to have to figure out how to get it onto the other eye. And she's like, why? I said, you're going to see a difference. It's good. They're going to look wacky. You've got to get the thing on your other eye. We didn't have a sample of it. So that was all we had was the sample, and it was out. So she puts it on. We sold so much Depuff and Define because we could just ask people, which eye do you think she put it on? It was a marked difference between the eye that had it and the eye that didn't. And as time went on,
it was more pronounced.
Throughout the day, you noticed it more and more and more, which was so amazing. And so she ended up actually having to purchase it. I mean, it was a great sales tactic. She ended up having to purchase it because she needed it on the other eye. Literally. Yeah, exactly. So it just, and it has also that light reflection, but it is
But it
It
helps
is
to detoxify and drain fluid from the lower eyelids and the upper eyelids. So the idea for depuff and define is for when you have puffy eyes, obviously. So I have more dark circles and fine lines, so I use Soothe and Smooth. But somebody who has actually puffiness, it's usually from a little bit of fluid accumulation and the fat that may be protruding forward. And unfortunately for fat, there's not much that can be done other than a surgical sort of treatment or an intervention like filler. It depends on what the presenting
Your
symptoms.
filler is also unbelievable.
Oh, thank you.
Your work with under eye filler is so beautiful.
Thank you.
You really have transformed so many people that I know, and their eyes are like, they look, I mean, I have a friend that sees you that I looked at her eyes, and I didn't know she saw you actually, because it's not our friend that we have in common. She just saw you as a patient. And she came to New York. She's like, oh my gosh, I found this new doctor. She's so amazing. And I said, I mean, what's happened here? Like, I need a full walkthrough of what you've done. And she was like, it's literally just filler.
Yeah.
She looked
like makes a difference.
She looked like she'd been at the spa for 6 months.
That's a nice way to be.
It was unbelievable. And it was just filler. It was not even, you didn't do anything else. You actually didn't even do Botox on her. She was really troughed, and so you just really filled in that trough, but it changed so much for her. And I think it actually, to be honest, I think the thing it changed the most was her self-esteem. But it was
it makes me so happy to hear that, because that's the biggest compliment ever, is that I want people, when they look in the mirror, whether it's from skincare or treatment, to really feel happy about themselves. Remember, I mean, I know people always say, oh, you're doing it like for a guy. Or, no, nothing I've done is for anybody but yourself. So, and I always tell people when they come in, anything you do with me is to make you feel better and to, help you with what bothers you. It doesn't matter. They say, well, what do you think? And I said, does it matter? I might not see you for another year. Why do you care about my input? I want you to tell me what bothers you, because that's the thing that you should be addressing. Not if I disagree and I think there's something much bigger on the picture. Of course, I'm going to tell them. But for the most part, that's what I would say for most people coming in. But that eye cream, everybody loves it. Like, people who don't want to have surgery or they're tepid, I always say, just take this and you'll see an improvement, because it helps to drain and detoxify some of the fluid. You don't have puffy eyes?
Because I use it.
Oh, well, and I even tell people they can use like the Soothe and Smooth in the daytime, and then they can use the Depuff and Define at nighttime to prevent swelling and puffiness for the morning. So
the Soothe and Smooth, I also think, should be noted, is amazing around the lip line.
Oh. We're working on a lip product. That's good to know. I'm going to try it tonight.
Around the lip line with the Soothe and Smooth, particularly if you're somebody who you kind of get a little bit of that crepiness here, and you need something richer during the day to kind of help it look a little bit less dry and liney. The Soothe and Smooth, just a little swipe of it. And here's another trick for you. If you have that like melasma stash, a little Depuff and Define, because of the light reflecting qualities, will also give you a very nice freshening without having to put cover up over it, because I think sometimes cover up will gray it out.
Yeah.
I wanted to say it's more of a makeup trick, but it's a good trick to know.
So we're launching our new Tint and Protect, which is a moisturizer with an SPF of 30, and it's a very sheer tint. It's meant to be universal. It's really good for skin types 1 to 4. It's not for the very darkest skin types, but it's really nice because you have protection, and I believe in it like combination SPF. So I believe in chemical and physical. So we have both in ours, and so the idea is that if you have chemical, that helps. You need a half an hour before you go out into the sun, because it gets absorbed into the skin and it absorbs the UV radiation from the sun. Whereas when you're using the protective, physical, it basically reflects the light off of your face. And so I really think it's important to have both. And usually the one that reflects is usually white and gives you this horrible white color. So we put a slight tint to it, and I think it looks more like, like a very light primer, and it's coming out in a couple weeks time. So
I can't wait. So hopefully we'll have it at Knockout Beauty soon.
Yes, I hope so too. We'll
Is it okay to keep? It says, is it okay to keep depuffed in the fridge?
So I think the problem is that everybody has different fridge temperatures, and I don't like to have it like totally frozen. Like if you want to put it in for like 10, 15 minutes. It doesn't need to be cold either. No, but if you put it in for maybe, if like the face and eye masks, they shouldn't live in the refrigerator. But if you want to put it in for like 10, 15 minutes because you like how it feels, then yes, you can. But I personally, it's not going to go bad if you keep it out. I mean, it's meant for on the shelf. But if you like that cold sensation, of course, it sometimes feels very refreshing for the skin. You can put it in for a few minutes, but I wouldn't let it like live there all the time, just because
I wouldn't either.
It doesn't need to, and it's really quite nice. It doesn't need it,
and actually, it's still effective in the cooling and the depuffing without being cold, which is cool.
So what do you love to do to? We're going to get kicked off, I think, in 4 minutes, just because I think. They have a time limit. But the last thing I wanted to say about my products is that I love the Glow Boost ampules.
So that was my final thing.
Okay, tell me.
That was what I want to talk to you about. So I feel like that's a great thing to do while we're all at home, because it's I have found that the best results that I have seen is when you do it as a treatment and you do it very regularly, and you actually document day 1 to the last day, and you get to see what it really does. So I'd love you to tell everybody what, about the ampules, because I think they're so special.
So I love these ampules. I created them to create an at-home treatment. So the problem with me is that I am busy like everybody else, and I never have time to go to the, like I did this laser now, but normally I never have time to do anything in my own office. So this is a 5-day regimen. There's an ampule in the morning, and then there's an ampule in the evening. You break it open, and you wash your face. You break one of these ampules open. There's quite generous amounts of serum in there, so you place it on your face.
You can get it and even get it onto the neck and a bit on the chest.
And if you even have any extra, you can put it on the backs of your hands, and then you can let it dry, and then you can put any of your other routine skincare on top of it. So that's the first step. So it's literally like 30 seconds. And
let's be clear, it needs to be the closest to your skin.
Yeah.
So if you tone your skin, which I like toning personally, especially in the United States because of our water pH, when you tone, you do want it to dry, and then once that's dried, then you put the ampule on.
And then you do the same thing in the evening. So every day for 5 days, you have a morning ampule and you have an evening ampule. And basically it has a combination of lactic acid, glycolic acid, ascorbic acid, vitamin C, and a meso cocktail that has like DMAE in it. Lots of really fabulous ingredients basically to increase cell turnover, exfoliate the skin, and brighten the skin. And it's a really nice thing to do. Like you could do it once a month. It's really great, if you have a party or a prep and you want to look good, or even now, like you just want to have your skin in the best condition that you can. It's a really nice at-home treatment to have too.
It's an amazing treatment, and I think it's also great for people that are not able to go get the treatment during this time period. It's an opportunity to keep your skincare up, to brighten your skin, to also reactivate the skin, because sometimes our skin gets a little bit tired and it doesn't kind of do what it's supposed to be doing because we're not feeding it what it needs to be fed, or we're not giving it that oomph, the encouragement to do that cell turnover. And when we then turn the cells over, as we talked about earlier, we want to feed it with something really good. So this day-night mix is really superb.
Yeah.
You like to begin this with the day or the night?
I prefer to start on a Monday morning to Friday morning, because I feel like when you have a routine, it's like easy. So I start in the morning, I wash my face, and generally because I shower at night and I just have skincare, I'm not very aggressive with my morning washing. So I wash my face, and then I'd start with one of the ampules, and then my normal skincare routine, which would be.
What do you put on after your ampules?
Always vitamin C. Always vitamin C.
So for me, I do the same. I like the ampule, then the vitamin C. I feel, even though, and I use a different form of A than your retinol, although I do have it and I like it. When I do the ampules, I think the vitamin C after it, if you combine the two, the brightening effect of those ampules after 5 days.
Synergistic, yeah.
You will see it. You will see the difference. It is not it's not like, oh, I wonder if that did anything. You
No,
will see it.
this was made, so they're called Glow Boost ampules, and this was actually made to have an immediate impact on your skin. So I think, you know, like I said, you use one in the morning and then one in the evening, and you use your routine skincare afterwards. I want to say goodbye because I don't want them to disconnect us without saying anything, but
It was
thank
so
you
nice to see you.
so much. Oh, and Dina.
Hi,
Thanks
Dina.
for joining. So thank you so much from
It was
London.
such a pleasure. Thank you for suggesting it.
And I was hoping to come to LA now to, you know, to actually meet you in person, but it'll happen sometime soon, I hope. But if you're ever in London, I hope to see you here too.